Teller, school psych in the back. Heather Skutek, first grade teacher. Jesse Westfall, specials teacher, teaches music, and then Don Nelson, who you saw today, kindergarten. So we'll be brief.
And colorful.
And colorful, elementary style. So who's involved? Really it starts with the people, so these first 25 slides, we're just showing you the great staff that work at the elementary school. So your kindergarten team, and every team has 6 teachers on it. First grade, second grade,
Whoa.
automatic Packer Day, third grade, our specials team. So Chris is in there, he's our new technology teacher. Greg, Fayed, Polly is a part of that rotation as our guidance teacher, which has been very positive. Mrs. Ajama, IMC, Mrs. Westfall, and then Mr. Trudeau, the new art teacher. And then we just wanted to make sure we captured everybody, so if you just kind of take a look at this, it says special education teachers, our literacy coordinator, Leslie Felch is on there for math, the title teachers on this slide. So it's all about the people, we just wanted to really focus on that, and then we did a whole bunch of pictures with our support staff. These are the teams that Jeff and I meet with monthly. Sometimes we meet with these teams every other week. So you can just see all the different teachers and teams that we're meeting with, even from custodial staff, our secretarial staff, team leads we're meeting with once a month, SST teams we meet sometimes every week, depending on what the needs are. So it's been very beneficial to hear them and then share their voice at staff meetings. Team leaders, they pretty much are the same as last year, except for Jesse Westfall has stepped up to be the specials team leader this year. For the elementary school, you can see this is data that we looked at during our data retreat last summer. And kindergarten surpassed their goal the previous year from 65% of their students reading at or above to 88%. And then first grade went from 65 to 85%. Outstanding results. If you go to the next page, you have second grade at 75%. They increased to 88% of the students reading at grade level. And then third grade went from 80 to 83%. So overall, we highlighted 86% of the students last year were reading at the reading benchmark when they left in June. So capturing that, this one, if Ann clicks on the link, it's our school improvement plan. It's a pretty detailed plan, so I'm not going to go through it step by step. If she just scroll down just a little bit. So this is just something that we went through as Ann scrolls through it to determine what did we want to do for another goal. And you can go back to the other slide because it'll be bigger. So for our school improvement plan, we looked at that data, and so now in kindergarten, which Mrs. Nelson and her team were a little hesitant about 85% of the students meeting, because remember, kindergartners come in not reading. A lot of them come in not even knowing the full alphabet. So when you say 85% of those students will read or meet that reading benchmark at the end of the year, it can be kind of overwhelming. But it's a rigorous goal, and I'm confident that the team can meet it. First grade is at 90%, so again, very rigorous goals that we have. Second grade, 87%, and then third grade, again, at 90%. Some of the action steps that our teams take, so just briefly, team meetings that we're having. This year, the teachers have all received, or they have 1 hour every day to collaborate with their team members. We have the monthly meetings, which I mentioned. And then educational practices, looking at how do we meet the needs of those students that aren't reaching those benchmarks. So we have an RTI, response intervention, and then our title support. And then some of the things we do for intervention, level literacy is implemented K-3.
We were also able to add a reading recovery teacher this year, which has been really positive. They target and give 30 minutes one-on-one reading support to 4 students each semester. Typically, I see a pre-A student in first grade. Pre-A is like the beginning level of reading if you use the ABCs as a continuum. And we need to get them to a level J by the end of the first grade. Usually with Title I support, we can get them to like a D by this time of the year. And with reading recovery, we got most of them to F's and G's, which is right caught up where the rest of their peers are expected to be. So we were able to support 3 out of the 4 made that, and now the one that didn't, we'll take to a student services team to see how we can get him more support to get him successful.
Thank you, Heather. More action steps on the next page. You guys utilize that inclusionary process, so getting the students to stay in the classroom so we're not always pulling those students that need that extra support out. Of course, professional development for our staff, developing common curriculum, utilizing instructional coaches like Amber and Leslie coming in to help with reading and math. They do data team meetings with our grade level teachers, and then PBIS, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. So combined, again, we have our SLO and our goals, and we truly feel like we have a great elementary school, and we're moving forward with all these implementations to get our students at reading benchmark by the end of the year.
Want me to click on any
Yeah,
of these?
no, you can just. So this is overall for curriculum and instruction improvement goal. This is our reading goals, and I've already talked briefly about that. So moving on to the next slide, our assessment and data use improvement goals.
And if you click on the formative interim and summative assessments, when looking at assessment and data, which you've heard already playing from the middle school and high school, these are some of the things that we look at, what the data source is. And I'm just going to point to the second one, that's Fontes and Pinnell. I might note that when we move on to the next slide. But PALS, again, is a reading assessment, phonological awareness literacy screening. Bridges is math. And I think the other ones are self-explanatory. So if you go back to the action steps of our previous slide. Okay, if you go down to the assessment spreadsheet, and click on that. We record on these for all of our grade levels, and we put you can slide across, we put the guided reading levels, the math levels, the bridges levels, all the PALS levels. That's where we keep track of what we're doing. So when they talk about that goal of the reading level, that's the Fontes and Pinnell that we talked about. As Jessie mentioned, it starts at pre-A. And again, in kindergarten, we have children that have gone to preschool, some that have never gone to any previous schooling. You can go back to the other slide then. So we keep track of this in a storehouse kind of place, which Brady has set up for us. So that's where the assessment spreadsheet goes. Now, if you go down to the collaborate one, so first of all, we've got to figure out what assessments we did, and we got to figure out what we're going to do with that data so we can use it. And then we need to meet to talk about it. So we have a collaboration schedule where, yep, you're right, where we meet and talk about what we're going to do. And we have cross grade levels. This was implemented last year by Ann, and it was excellent. Kindergarten met with 4K, which them being a community-based site, we didn't really have any communication. So it worked out wonderful, and now this year we have kindergarten first grade collaboration and then 4KK collaboration. And so we're able to take that data and look at where they come from and where we're going to get them to with looking at the first grade data also. You can go to the next slide then.
Okay, so this one is for the PBIS, and like the other building said, we've worked on implementing it at a universal level this year, and we've been working as a building team and also as a district team. For our building team, we have several different coaches. Me, Jeff Soderberg, Kayla Bird are all working together, and there's other roles too that we have from each grade level. We have a coach, and then we also have for our like specials and special ed department, we have representatives. So it really brings together all different levels. So far we've had 2 day trainings. We have one more at the in-service next week. And then we do meet monthly as a team. And right now we're working on using common language in all school settings, so like in the hallways, on the bus, everything like that. We have 3 different core values, so the be safe, responsible, and respectful. We're doing research and using really what PBIS, the facilitators, told us to make sure that we're doing what's best research-based. And then also we will be working on office discipline referrals and what should be considered major and minor, so.
All right, so another one of our goals is just having more community involvement and family involvement, especially trying to provide 2 additional family and community engagement opportunities. So one thing that took place at the end of January was a book fair offered to the families set up by a group of some of our staff members. And it seemed, I mean, it was very well received. There were some hours available in the afternoon. Students could come in at their lunchtime and kind of look at the books and make purchases, and families were invited to come in after school, or at the end of the day, I think. We brought in over $3,500 in profit for our school, so those funds obviously will be put back to use within our school for different activities, so that was very well received. And also in April, on April 6th, we're having a family bunny bingo night, kind of along the lines of the turkey bingo that PTO helps with. So families can come in and have a little snack and play bingo and get little prizes, and just to get the parents into the building.
There's
So.
some, just looking around, there'd be some very fine bunnies.
Oh,
Yeah. Not trying to look at anyone in particular, but you're more than welcome to come be the bunny.
otherwise we've nominated Jeff, so.
I'm gonna second that.
Yeah. He makes
Before
a
you
great
go.
banana.
I think Dave was volunteering. Before you go, if he wants to do.
Yeah.
I did the banana costume, that's enough,
Yes.
no more banana costume.
All right, so then, one of our goals is how our teachers, if you just go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
If you just go on, so how are teachers going to promote that literacy? And so they're gonna incorporate collaboration and higher level thinking. So they're gonna utilize our instructional coaches and our math coach and our reading coordinator. So Leslie helps at data meetings, and she comes and meets with teams to look over their data and help students place them for intervention. And then also, we're looking into 2 different curriculum sources. So one of them that we're trying, some of us are trying, she helps us dive deeper into that so we have a better understanding to get to that depth of knowledge. And then Amber has started to introduce resources such as Lucy Calkins to some of the teams, and that's another thing that we're looking at diving deeper into for our writing for next year.
The next goal may be one of my favorite goals. I really enjoy building relationships with people, but the last comment is always helping them assume positive intent. Has been a challenge because a lot of times when things go the way you don't want them to go, you right away go to the negative. So one of the things I try to communicate to my staff is don't get so upset right away. Let's assume that the person intentionally had good intentions and assume positive intent before we say, oh my gosh, this happened, and oh my gosh, this happened. So I enjoy this goal because it's a challenging one for me. And if Ann clicks on the Q1 results, we gave out surveys Q1 and Q2. And right now we're looking at the leadership teams in the building. So you can see, taking into account this time 53 people responded. So are they informed by administrators, team leaders, support staff, teachers, if you scroll down, Ann. Technology's in there. Technology's doing so awesome, great. Custodial staff, food service, we really wanted them to give us feedback, like how do you feel? Starting with number 8, are they comfortable sharing ideas and opinions with administrators? And 3 people at my staff meeting, Jeff and I acknowledged that and we said, please help us understand why. Like, are you afraid of Jeff? Like, does he yell too much? Do you feel like my door isn't an open policy? So we really encourage our staff to come in and share with us, or maybe tell a team leader so we can get that feedback. So it's a challenging goal, but I enjoy it because it is challenging, and I want people to help shift that mindset that we're here to help you and assume positive intent, because we're all here for the kids. No one's trying to, do anything that's harming you or a student. Q2 results, we had less people, and it's a busy time of year, but we 41 responses. So I'm going to work with Leslie. We're going to figure out a data spreadsheet at the end of the year after all 4 quarters to see how we really did. And some of the numbers went down, but again, not as many people took it. So this is a goal that Jeff and I are excited about. It's not going to be perfect in the first year. It's going to take time, but we just really want people to be communicating with each other, not just the 2 of us, but trust each other, communicate with each other, and always assume that positive intent.
One of the ways we're trying to get kind of that more positive reinforcement going between staff members especially, we're able to nominate fellow staff members for a high 5. So that's in our newsletter that goes, or our update that goes out to the staff at the end of every week. And then at staff meetings, those are acknowledged. A few of them are acknowledged at the staff meetings, and then we're able to just kind of recognize each other for those positive things that we notice taking place.
One of the things that we wanted to do was support one of the really important parts of our school, or at any of the buildings, are the assistants that we have in the building. And we've recently had a mentorship program for our teachers, but one of the things we wanted to do in the elementary school was create a mentorship program for our assistants, our new assistants. And we took the teacher mentor handbook and we went through it and we kind of modeled it after that. And once we got the approval, it was a pretty easy approval from Mary and Dick and Dr. Schultz, was to find those mentors. And the veteran assistants that we had, both regular ed assistants and special ed assistants, were more than willing. And this is a volunteer thing. This isn't anything where they get paid extra to do, and they meet on their own time, was to assign every new assistant that we have some type of person that they can go to. Now, all of the assistants are willing to help, but to have one person that they can go to ask specific questions, to sit down with their mentee and just go over what we do here at the elementary school. So Ann, if you could just click on number 3 there. It'll kind of give you what we basically formulated off the, oh, bummer.
Why am
What the, if she's able to punch it up great, if not, it's a set of responsibilities for our mentor, our assistant mentor. It's a set of expectations, responsibilities for our mentee. And then there's basically a checklist of stuff from the beginning of the school year that our mentors can use just to make sure that they at least touch base with our new people on how we do things here. Now today I had our 5 new assistants. We sat down with myself and we went over some things that we thought were important, like True Time and ASOP and just things that they had questions with. Spent about 15-20 minutes with them today and just made sure that they're happy and are getting all their questions answered. Their mentors are helpful, and they all thought that was going very well, and appreciate not only that, but it makes them feel welcome and part of the school in a big hurry, instead of them just wandering their way through and figuring it out on their own. So it's been a real good response, 1 from our veteran people and 2 from our new assistants.
So this one is just touching again on the PBIS, and really the next slide also, but achievement is really, you have to have the behavior before you can have the achievement. So that's why PBIS has such a huge impact on that, and they have to be involved in the class and participating in order to really see that. So again, just touching on PBIS, focusing on that in the tier 1 level.
And then if you click on the MES checklist, it's just a checklist of all the things that we've talked about so far tonight and how we're doing, so we can monitor our progress. So on the sheet, you'll just see that an X means we've completed that goal. A slash means that it's a work in progress, but we've started some of the work towards it. And then there's a couple of boxes that are still empty because it's something that we have to do the groundwork now, and it might be a goal that carries over into next year. So like one of them was incorporating literature for PBIS. Well, we have to lay the foundation for PBIS before we can incorporate the literature, so. And then on the next slide, these are just some things that we're doing. So we're collaborating, we're participating in meetings. We love our collaboration time at the elementary school. That's a really big positive. Teachers were asked to do at least 60 minutes of collaborating with the new schedule. I can guarantee that all teachers are doing way more than 60 minutes. It's just, I can really attest that there's a lot more growth in our teaching because we're able to have that time to collaborate.
And when we do get together to collaborate, we have goal-oriented PLCs, which are professional learning communities. You click on that link, that lists all of the PLCs that we have and the goals that they have. From the team leader, 4K, you can scroll down, you have to read them all because you have the information. But it just lists that every group has some kind of goal. that you can see. Now, going back to the previous slide, then once you set those goals, what are you gonna do about it? So you go to the meetings, and we have set up a schedule of who's meeting when. When the faculty teams meeting, you could scroll down and see when grade level teams are meeting, the 4K, the kindergarten team. They're set for the year so that people know that that's a protected time, you know, make your doctor appointments and things. Because it's important to us that everybody comes to the table and we all have a voice. You can go back to the other experience. While she's going back, man, Alice, you didn't want to say, you may be a little too shy, that your daughter was one of them that met that 85% grade level benchmark standard in reading?
Good for her.
I thought you just stood up.
That's an expectation.
Yeah. So, who else supports our school improvement plan? You wouldn't believe the people that are coming in and out of our classrooms, in and out of my classroom. We have United Way volunteers that come on Tuesday and Thursday. They meet in the community room with kids having their lunch at that time, and they read them stories, and we choose children that usually don't get stories read to. Interesting, the bottom right-hand picture, that is Lola Dow, who used to be an aide that had a medical situation, and now she's able to come back and read with the kids. And up on the top left, if you notice, that is former kindergarten teacher Joyce Cullen, who comes back and volunteers with the United Way.
Just a number of other volunteers, from high school tutors to grandparents and, you know, parents. Obviously, we just always have volunteers in the building, which we're very thankful for.
Paul's mom.
Mrs. Ike, former
Grandma
teacher
Susie,
in the
she loves
county,
it.
right? Yeah.
And then we also have step workers. So Grandma Susie is one of those. But so step workers, you've probably heard of it before, but it's the senior citizen tax exchange program. So they come in and they're only required to do 80 hours of work. They do far beyond that. They're so helpful in the classroom, helping students, giving them some one-on-one support. Just great, helpful hands in the classroom.
It's all about the people. We start with the people, we end with the people. They're doing great things at elementary school. Any questions?
You've got enough data for tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You ready? Yeah.
No, I didn't start with the.
Wait, no, all of them kids.
Okay, well, we're here, my team and I, to talk about special education, and we're gonna actually have you do a couple fun things tonight. We figured we'd save the best for last, so that we had to kind of liven the place up. So I'm Mary Zimmerman, I'm the director of special ed, and I'm gonna let everybody else introduce themselves.
Special education at the elementary school. Kelsey Ortel, school psychologist for K through 5.
I'm Kathy Kleinberg, I'm a special education teacher at the high school, and I have with me Megan Wheeler, who is a special ed teacher at the middle school and is at a basketball game.
So Megan missed last year doing this, and she's missing this year, and so because of that, she wanted to make sure that everybody knew she was here and she was a part of this. So we're gonna pass something out, and then she's going to be on a video because she couldn't be with us tonight.
Hi, I'm Megan Peeler. I'm one of the special ed teachers at the middle school. I unfortunately cannot be there tonight to present to you, so we're just going to start off with a little lesson with you. The ladies at the back are going to actually give you a test right now. We're going to simulate something that that some of our special ed students go through on a regular basis. So what they're going to do is they're going to hand you a test, and as if I was the teacher and you were the students, you're going to take a test. Now, we've been studying this for months, so you should have no problem with filling it out. There's about 5, 6 questions. You should be able to zip through it right away. So as soon as you get it, you may begin, and I will wait till we are done and we will go over it.
I'll just wait for the answers.
Can I Google it?
Mr. Barnes, please don't cheat, buddy. Get your eyes off of Mr. Tromchek's paper. I'll call the cops on you, buddy, for stealing answers, okay? So you just keep your eyes on your own paper. Thank you. Now, this shouldn't be hard. We've studied this for months. Mr. Kaiser, come on, buddy, you can work harder than that. I don't think you're trying very hard. Let's go, Mr. Kaiser.
Mike probably knows the answer.
Now, I really don't want to waste much more time, but I just wanted to give you an idea. So how many of you really understood what you were taking? Now, there shouldn't be many of you unless you remember exactly everything in German when you went to school, if you took German. I did, and I'll tell you, I even struggled with it. So I'm going to say that this is what children with intellectual disabilities deals with on a regular basis. They don't always remember. It takes numerous repetitions for them to remember something. And when they look at something like this, it may look foreign just like it did to you. So we need to remember that as educators, and this is why we're in their corner to help them out. Now, at the end of the presentation, we would like you to take the time to actually look at something. There's a video there that talks about the myth of average, and it talks about everybody's not the same. Disabilities aren't all the same. Each student isn't the same. And we have to make those adjustments as educators. And that's why we're here. And those lovely ladies at the back are actually going to present to you and tell you what we do at the Mosinee School District to help our students with special needs and how we work with the general education teachers to help them be successful here. Thank you. Hi, I'm Megan Peeler. I'm one of the special ed teachers at the middle school. I unfortunately cannot be there tonight.
It's like Groundhog Day.
Sometimes repetition is
No! You're killing me slowly.
I said 3 more times.
So our mission statement is to increase academic achievement for all students with disabilities within the Mosinee School District and to ensure college, career, and community readiness for all. And I think this is just really important for those students, like Megan had said, that have those special needs, and we have to meet them where their differences are. So the specific department goals, we have 4 different ones. The first one looks at increasing student with disability participation in the general ed classrooms with a co-servicing, co-planning model. And a lot of grade levels are doing that where they're actually going into the classroom and working with the kids in the classroom. And we'll touch more on that. Then also to increase literacy levels for students with disabilities as measured by the Scholastic Reading Inventory. So that's just a test that's given starting at 3rd grade and goes all the way up and just looks at where they're at compared to their same age peers. And then to increase assistive technology use to help students with disabilities to gain independence. So providing them with those extra technology resources. And then also, like I said, the participation to be college and career ready with a heavy emphasis on transition to adult life at the high school level.
So our first work was on our #1 goal. It's to increase the students with disabilities participation in the general education classrooms within a co-servicing and co-planning model. We're so happy to announce that we have increased from 5 classes last year to 19 this year between the pre-K and through the 12th grades. So we've definitely increased that a lot. The inclusionary model is full force. The intellectual disabilities and emotional behavior disabilities are not fully included at this time because their needs cannot be met in that inclusionary setting within the regular education classroom. We have had training on co-teaching with Dr. Futura. We have progress monitoring and reading strategies that we look at. The special education teachers this year and last year have been included in the grade level meetings. We
also do the progress monitoring with the SRA and the bridges assessment through math. And then we also do common assessments throughout the regular classrooms. This is just some pictures with the co-elementary teaching. We have a social skills class on the right, and then we have a class field trip.
And this is a picture for the middle school, so the top two pictures are from fourth grade. And so the special education teacher working in a group, small group within the classroom, and then also the general ed teacher working in that small group, so they do that at the same time. And then fifth grade is at the bottom, and so Megan Peeler she kind of cut herself off, but she's on the right there. And she's working in a small group with kids while the other kids are getting that curriculum that's at their level, but then Megan is working with those extra things that they need.
And this is a class at the high school that we're very happy to have back this year. It had gone away for a couple of years, but this is team taught with Suzanne Brandt, our IDS teacher, and Ron Klinner. And you can see kids with disabilities getting hands-on practice in woods and graphics. And they've been making a lot of neat projects. They do have to pass the safety test first, but it's been very good. The next there. Okay, also working on increasing literacy levels as measured by the SRI. Our psychs and, our school psychologist, Mary Zimmerman, have met with reading specialist Amber Garvey throughout the school year. Amber has also come and talked with us individually or at the high school about reading and SRI scores, vocabulary strategies as well at the high school. Our special ed students are now monitored at least monthly. At the high school, some people are using the STAR, some are using Ames Web, but we're checking those reading scores to see if the kids are making progress.
The scholastic reading inventory data on literacy is our goal number 2, and if you click on the Mosinee goal for us, we can show you some of our goals.
I need permission there. That's okay, I don't like it.
Well, what it showed was there was a printout of just the goals for the elementary, the middle, and the high school grade levels. The elementary, I believe, was 8% and 19%, I believe, and there were 42 children. No, okay. And that was a little bit lower at the elementary level, and the reason for that is because at the elementary level, there's a lot of initial referrals from first, second, and third grade. So there's not the biggest population at that moment. And then we have something called student developmentally delayed, which is a label given to students up to the age of 9. And at that moment, when that label is gone, they have to be reevaluated and then given another label to receive our services at the special education. At the elementary level also, we have implemented lots of interventions. For math, we have bridges, and for reading, we do the level literacy. And then we also have something called the footprints that Amber has helped me personally with for our reading interventions. And because of those interventions, it seems like if the child is progressing within those interventions, that we can see that they're progressing, that they're not necessarily a student with special needs. So the interventions that we've been doing have been helping a bigger population. And then at the middle school, I'm trying to remember what the numbers are, I apologize. No. At the middle school, I remember they were larger, the numbers were bigger, and it was like 88%. That's correct. And then at the high school, it was a little bit lower, I believe. Sorry about that didn't come up.
Okay, our goal 3 was to increase assistive technology to help our students gain more independence. One of the things on our new Chromebooks, we have Snap and Read app, and what it does is it will highlight all the text, and it's any kind of text, so that kids that have trouble reading are able to have that read to them. Assistive technology, we have some students that use iPads, they're nonverbal and they're able to communicate that way. We've worked a lot with Brady this year. He's helped us tremendously train our staff on all these different apps and different technologies that we're using for our kids. We have a Go Guardian app which helps monitor and block sites, and we have Bookshare download and digital text.
Okay, and then at the high school, college and career ready with a heavy emphasis on transition for adult life. Within our high school, students start in what we call the youth employability skills class, which is an in-school job opportunity. And then if they get to the point where they can progress a little further, we have out-of-school supervised jobs with our job coach. Our job coach is Karen Biles. And we have kids working at Lisa's, we have kids at Culver's, at Napa, and then they move from there sometimes to even other community jobs. We also have job internships. The Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act is a new law that required that DVR spend 15% of their funds with school-age kids. And they are finding that getting in early, working with our students, kids are much more successful than when they are older. This link here shows some of the things that we've been working with collaboratively with DVR. Skills to pay the bills. This is a third year that we have done that. We have 7 kids that just started again this last week on Valentine's Day. They get soft skills instruction after school. DVR pays transportation home, which is a big impediment for many of our kids. So they're getting some extra vocational training. The next slide, LifeWorks, that's a summer program. Students get some soft skills training, some job shadowing, some job experience. It's also transportation provided, and the students are paid to go to the class and to participate in the jobs. And then Crex Meadows, I have one student who qualified for that. He is not wild about academics, but he's real great hands-on, and he went up north and he worked for 2 weeks at a summer camp. He was a freshman last year and they want him back. So they can't use cell phones up there. It's all camping outside and working hard. So, and then community employment. Again, Karen Biles is our job coach. We have the new van, thank you. And we have job experiences throughout the community and the school day. And those are some of the pictures of our kids at work.
We were really excited in November. We received a letter from the Department of Public Instruction saying that our self-assessment procedure was complete. We had complied to all the compliance that we were supposed to in our self-assessment year for 15-16. And what was really fun is when I was talking to DPI, they actually complimented us on our paperwork and meeting our compliance because they could tell that we had had training after they reviewed all of our work. So that was very nice to hear that.
The Mosinee School Education website, and before I go into that, if you don't mind, I just got the numbers for our last charts I'm going to tell you quickly. So it was talking about our SRI goals and how at the elementary level, how many points they had gone up. I was close. It's 45 points since last year. The middle school went up 85, and the high school went up 62 points. So yeah, they all went up. So it was really nice. So back to this slide, Mosinee Special Education website. We continue to have a live finder. And on this website, it's so wonderful. As a parent, as a teacher, you can go on this website and it has all of these little buttons that you can actually go into. So if you have any questions, like about specific learning disabilities or vision impairment or deaf and hearing impairment, you can go into any of those and it will give you a lot more detail about that specific disability. So if you have time, go in. Have fun.
So along with that, we also are working on using the mental health framework so that Wisconsin came out with that within the last year. And a couple of us actually went to the training for it, and it really does align with PBIS, which is nice because then we can use those same values and align them together. So there's a list of the 10 different supports and interventions, but we specifically focused on the ones that were bolded there. We're focusing more on those this year. So the strong universal implementation, database continuous improvement, positive school climate, and the staff mental health, attitudes, competences, and wellness, and then also a continuum of supports. So to work on our mental health framework, we have focused on early identification. So we actually got a grant to do the BEST screener, which is behavioral, emotional, social traits universal screener. So there's been 3 different grade levels that did use that screener as a resource for looking at behaviors with all of their kids. And then Dr. Eric Hartwig actually came and worked with the teachers on how to address those needs in the classroom and what interventions they can do universal for all students.
So after they filled out the BEST survey, they had certain kids that came out that were targeted students. And so that really helps us when we're doing our planning for our PBIS and our SST teams to be able to really work with those kids.
And then we also have co-planning strategies with students, families, and community providers. So we actually have North Central Healthcare come into the schools and do counseling with students, which really works out well for those families that don't want to travel or can't travel, for them to just come directly to provide those services. And then also we have the CCS, or Comprehensive Community Services, which are wraparound services. And then the development of reentry plans and follow-up services. And then the last one is counseling and support teams. So we do have a mental health team that started this year too, and pupil service teams at each school, and the mental health professional development group. And like I had said, we did do trainings. Over the summer, there was a trauma-sensitive training that some of us got to go to. And then the positive behavioral intervention, so PBIS. And then mental health screening training too for the BEST screener.
Okay, just a little break, show you a couple pictures. This is our early childhood program that we have set up in the elementary school right now. And the early childhood also has different areas throughout the community.
The 4K sites.
Yes, the 4K sites. The Child Find Screenings, it's for early childhood, is done by Mary Zimmerman and Amy Kerntoff. And what happens is there's a developmental screening between the ages of 2.9 and 5 years of age. And you can see that there's scheduled screenings throughout the year. And what that does is it helps to locate and identify and evaluate students that possibly have disabilities.
And Katie Craig also helps out with the language part too.
Here's some occupational therapy pictures and physical therapy pictures. And some of the people that I need to mention right now is our part-time physical therapist, which is Kathy Jensen. We have an occupational therapist, which is full-time, Liz Abel. And we have an adaptive biad person called Jessica Novitsky. And we also have speech throughout the buildings. We have Jill Fisher, Katie Craig, Megan Comer, and Casey Gorski, and those speech and language services are provided under that special education umbrella also.
And then also the school psychology services that I provide, Mary provides, and then we have Deb also helping us this year. So some of those services are consulting with classroom teachers on interventions and resources. I go into the classrooms and just work with those teachers on things that they can do and observe, and then just give them some ideas. Participating in student service teams, so I do the elementary and then the middle school. Collaborating with community agencies, completing student evaluations of possible identification of disabilities and need for services, communicating with parents and helping with homeschool plans, so making sure that that communication is there with parents, working with building administrators, collaborating with the reading specialist and the math coach. They definitely, I talk to them almost daily, so they're very helpful, and meeting with students for counseling sessions.
So besides the staff that we have within our building, because of a lot of our children's IEP plans and their special needs, we have other contracted services that come in and help our students. We have an autism consultant, Mary Graysick, and we're very lucky to have her. She's a state trainer. We have a behavioral consultant, Lynn Borson. She is also a guru in that area in the state. We have an audiologist that we share with Wausau. We have a deaf and hard of hearing teacher, which we're very lucky to have. She just retired from Wausau last year, and she helps us out, Art Arndt. And then through CESA 9, we have an orientation and mobility services. We have one student that has low vision, and so they come and work with them.
And that's just a picture of some of our high school students on the Teen Needs Teen Social Club. And some audience, yeah.
And here's some of the elementary school students, which we have a little girl on the right who's going on a field trip. The police officers came up on the top to talk to some of the students, and then just some fun activities that the kids are doing.
So looking ahead at what our future is for our comprehensive plan, we're gonna continue to work with our reading specialists to work on closing those achievement gaps in literacy, expand our exclusionary model, so work on getting our teachers into the general ed classroom more, improving post-high school school readiness for students with disabilities, examine early childhood preschool options, evaluate emotional behavioral disability programming across grade levels, so just to see what we can improve on. We are getting a service dog at the elementary, which is gonna be awesome for one of our little kids to support her with her special needs. Special education staff, we do have a survey, is that, yeah, and then we meet monthly. And then mental health initiative and positive behavioral intervention supports.
So we want to thank you for supporting our programs and our kids and our teachers. And we would like to invite all of the board members to come in and observe to see what's taking place in our special ed departments. And again, Megan has her little link up there if you want to go in and look at that later. So thank you very much.
Anybody have any questions?
Sorry.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. For all of those individuals from our school, middle school, elementary, and special ed. Very informative. Okay, item 8, school board report. Students.
So last week, Student Senate sponsored City Hawkins Week. This included our annual Hats On for Luke Day, and all the proceeds went to the American Cancer Society in Luke's name. We brought back the lip sync contest during our pep rally on Friday. It was a big hit, it was a blast, so fun. We ended our fun week with the Sadie Hawkins dance on Saturday, and the TNT Club sold concessions, which we had them do that for a couple years, so it was nice to get other clubs involved. Right now, we are planning our next blood drive, trip to WASC State Conference, and Evening of Elegance. Mosinee FFA attended their fruit sale incentive trip on Saturday, February 4th. They toured Future Farms in Baldwin, stopped at the Mall of America, and attended World's Toughest Rodeo at the Excel Energy Center. They will be having their spring fruit sale, which started on February 20th. They are celebrating National FFA Week this week, and they will also be participating in leadership development events at DC Everest and assisting at the Swiderski Open House. This month, the juniors have been preparing for their ACT test, which I know Mr. Lehman had already talked about, and it's taking place next Tuesday. All juniors took a practice test to see their overall ACT score, as well as their individual scores in English, reading, science, and math. 5 teachers at the high school, Mr. Felch, Mrs. Kaiser, Mr. McCarthy, Mrs. Koski, and Mr. Lai, provided 3 ACT prep nights after school to help students in the areas they struggled in during the individual first ACT practice test. SCCLA members attended regionals yesterday and today at SPASH. They sold Valentine's cookies, and all proceeds went to fighting childhood hunger. 3 students qualified for DECA Nationals. Solo ensemble is this weekend at DC Everest, so that's going to be a big event for middle school and high school. I have a little sports update there. Dance team performed our alumni halftime routine last night at the boys varsity game. It was really awesome. On Facebook if you want to see. Girls varsity basketball is 5-7 in conference. Boys varsity is 6-5 in conference. Josh Hester plays third at sectionals in Seymour this weekend. He qualifies for state at the Cole Center in Madison on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. His send-off is Thursday down in Richmond, so I'm hoping to stop in. Wish him luck. This weekend, Mosinee hosted the conference meet for gymnastics. Mallory Gravis took first all around, and she was awarded Gymnast of the Year. It was really awesome. Bria Pompo also took 5th on 4th. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. I enjoy your commentary.
Oh, thank you.
Anyway, item 9, old business. Item 8, open enrollment update.
So we were asked just to share a little bit of background again on the open enrollment, and hopefully the chart helped you understand a little bit of the cost for open enrollment. One thing to note is that estimated cost to Mosinee is actually calculated at the end of the year when we know if student number 5, how many days they spent, student number 6, how many days they spent, so that actual cost is put in there at the end of the year. Brent tried to give you a little bit of an example of what the costs were. Matt asked a really good question about those 16 kids that we have. You know, is there a cost higher than $12,000 in the form of a one-on-one aide, a one-on-one teacher? It just so happens that this year there is not. That can change tomorrow. But right now, of the 16, we do not. Of those 16 that are open enrolled into our district. Again, that could change. But for this report.
You know, at least in that case, I've had a couple of residents address open enrollment and how it works, and they're like, well, as a community, we're subsidizing kids from other communities, and I discussed there's income coming in and there's costs associated with that. And I think that the board having a true grasp of, okay, what do we get in revenues, what do we put out? And some kids might cost less than $12,000 to educate, and others might cost $14,000, but the fact that our community is providing a service, educating kids, and I think that's good information for us to have, so that there's not a stigma associated with open enrolling special ed kids.
Sure. Were there any other questions on that?
I just had one. I know we approved that resolution last year, and I printed out like what, and I'm believing this is Wasa's. I don't think it's a resolution, but actually it must be their policy. I don't know, I mean, anyway, my question was, from my understanding last month when we discussed this, I basically thought that we have to just accept everybody no matter what, if we have the room. But if we don't provide this service, or don't have a teacher, or don't have, I mean, we could actually deny a student.
We did have the resolutions for all.
Right. Right now, our open enrollment policy is just the one paragraph, and the reason I voted the way I did was because I was just under the understanding that we had to accept everybody. So my question is, but technically, if are other schools in our area currently denying any students?
Diane, on that question, yes, there are schools that limit it due to space, but you can't simply say, well, you can't say we're not gonna let any autistic kids, we're not gonna let the CD kids in, we're not gonna let in the ED kids, we'll let in the LD kids because they don't cost as much. You can't do it that, but you can do it based on space. But the problem with that is you already have 38 more kids choosing to leave Mosinee than come here, which gives you $200-some thousand, you know, 250 if they're all one FT, $250,000 in negative revenue.
Right.
You sit there and say, if you say we're not gonna let in, you know, special ed kids because of a space issue and whatever grades, they also have siblings that can't come in, and I said, it was interesting after last meeting, I think I told you this, that Bernie brought in an article from Marathon. We're 250,000 in the red, so we're losing 250,000 in the revenue versus expenditure bucket. And in Marathon, they're 400,000 ahead. So they got so many more kids wanting to come there than leave. And they were writing in the Edgar Times, I don't know, it's Edgar Record Review, I think is what it's called. But they were debating at their meeting, you know, should we stop kids from coming in? And the board members are writing, well, they have siblings. And that's the thing I would say to you, is if we have one kid that's special ed and now you turn away, you know, there's two siblings or one sibling that isn't in special ed, you're kind of, I think, shooting yourself in the foot. But like Max said earlier, I mean, you could have some kid that costs $40-some thousand. But as I said at the last meeting, you've got a couple kids that are going to Point, that one of them's 30-some thousand and one of them's 40-some thousand. So, I mean, I would encourage you to leave the door open, but in the end, it's your guys' choice.
Right, right. I mean, so currently the resolution that we have compared, I mean, it'd be interesting next year if we ever go through this again, to compare our resolution compared to other districts in the area, and what they're currently
Well,
doing.
Marathon's doing
Right, we
the
do it
same as
every year.
us, for example.
Every single year you have to pass that, so every single
Right, I
year
know
we're
in
looking
January, you
at
have
it,
to, yep,
and he'll make a recommendation based upon the numbers, he really will.
right.
And I don't think, I mean, unless you really had a huge space issue, I said to Mary, I mean, do we have anything that's particularly terrible? And I don't believe that when we talk that there's, you know, anything, and again, you'd like to accommodate them because you'd like more kids to come here because it isn't good to have a deficit,
But
ideally.
when researching the very exciting statutes that apply to open enrollment into your school, we use the word space, but space is defined by the statute, and it's not just, do we have enough square footage, or do we have a desk for these individuals? It also includes the staff necessary to educate that individual. So space covers all of that. And I think the point Diane's making here is, if we have someone that open enrolls in, and we don't have the staff to be able to provide and meet their, I'm gonna screw this up, individualized education plans that student needs, well, then we have a choice to make because we don't have the space currently, because we don't have the staff. And furthermore, I found it interesting that if we bring a student in open enrollment and their IEP changes that requires additional staff at additional expense to the school, we also have the ability to not offer the opportunity to get educated here. But I think each of those would be individual discussions that we would have to have and look at what's in the best interest of our district and our community.
Well, I also feel too, Mary, well, you educated the personnel committee a little bit on that as far as, which I was not aware of, that with some of the needs of the students, we take them, but then we also bust them out. And I don't think the full board was aware of that, because I had no knowledge of that.
We do that with our students. I will guarantee you that the 15 that are enrolled in are not leaving, we're not having, those are our kids that we're talking about, some of them. Because the 16 special needs students that we have this year are not any that we're busing to those programs. But we are busing some of our own kids.
6 of them.
Six,
of them.
yeah.
Yeah, and they're going to DHF, deaf and hard hearing, right, Mary? And you've got some going up to Merrill, you've got some going to Wausau. And just for information, I mean, since the day I got here, we've had kids going to Wausau. And prior to that, we also had kids going to Everest. So this isn't really anything new. I mean, it's maybe not something probably on your radar, Kelly, but we've been doing it because we always have kids that we can't service because we don't have the capacity, you know, to service every disability or handicap.
And this year, it just happens to not be one of those 16 students.
That's fine, I just, like I said, I was never aware of that, I've been on the personnel committee for I don't know how long, I never was aware of that. So,
See, Kelly, the other thing is you'd never see that because it would just be a tuition bill, you know, like if you were on the finance committee ever with me, you'd see the bill at the come May, but other than that, it's kind of oblivious probably to most board members. It's just something that happens every year. You get the bill, Matt, and you'll see it.
That was my first month on the board, and you're like, just pay it, Matt. I'm like, okay, I second that.
Okay, is there any other discussion items? If not, we'll move on to item 9D, Mosinee Athletic Complex.